Hello, this is George, guys. Welcome back. In this session, we're going to be talking about corporate business development and entrepreneurial ventures. When we talk about corporate business development, we're talking about the range of alliances and other deals. It could be investments or ventures with other companies that you use for business development purposes. I'm going to take you through 3 illustrations in this series of videos. Each of these companies, although now large, definitely acted entrepreneurially as they built out their business development efforts. Starbucks, from Milan to everywhere. Apple, we'll go back and talk about their iPod business development strategy. Google, and what we're going to call semi-organic growth in the area of advertising. So let's talk about business development relationships and what they include. First of all, they may involve licensing deals where you're renting content or technologies. An example might be Netflix having a licensing agreement with a company such as Disney. It also can include co-marketing relationships where you partner with another company to get your name out. In this case, we see Dick's Sporting Goods and ESPN connecting in such a way that Dick's is promoted with the co-marketing agreement with the ESPN. It might also include things like co-development or partnering relationships, be it NASA and other partners that are seeking collaborative ideas. It might also include joint purchasing, where you get purchasing leverages as a result of leverages as far as purchasing capabilities with another partner. It may also include long-term supplies. So there's a pretty long list of possible business development activities that you might want to consider in your entrepreneurial venture. Now, let me give you a few examples before we focus on Starbucks. One thing that can happen with large companies as well as small companies is you may want to pool your technology and build new businesses as a result. For example, Philips and Sony used a non-equity alliance, meaning there was no stock that changed hands, to pool patents and develop what we know now as the compact disc. Now, they licensed together the product using an open standard, with Sony marketing in Asia and Philips promoting it in Europe and the United States. And by the way, the compact disc originally had a digital size that was essentially large enough to hold Beethoven's Ninth. So here's an example of 2 companies, neither one of which had a complete solution, but by pooling their resources together, were able to complete a solution, which then they licensed to music providers and software providers for many years, the compact disc. Take another example, what we could call the global sliver effect. Here you have one specialty that you take and you leverage across a great deal of many other products, and you use the value chain to be able to develop that sliver and move it into a broader application. Take Starbucks as an example. It leveraged its product, its concepts through a galaxy of alliances. Let's talk about Starbucks for just a minute. Now, Starbucks started in Milan, Italy. Well, actually, it started before because it was a coffee roasting company. But Howard Schultz goes to Milano. He goes into an espresso bar near the Duomo, the cathedral in Milano, the majestic cathedral, and he sees something there which gets him very excited. In fact, he gets so excited he starts shaking, according to some accounts. He takes that concept back to the United States, and by the way, when he came back, his partners at Starbucks, the coffee roaster, thought he was a little bit crazy to want to extend the notion of a cafe around the world, this coffee cafe. But you'll see that we did develop it. He did develop it in the United States. Then he took it to the United Kingdom, Japan, China, and other countries. Now, of course, we'll see if one day he returns to Italy, where it originally started. Obviously, this is a very challenging entry to take it back to Italy, given the density of cafes, espresso bars in that particular country. But let's talk about, first of all, the United States. Now, there are few opportunities for M&A because the concept, that is acquisition, because the concept he was thinking about was somewhat unique when the first company started. So he went to build out from a greenfield expansion. He wanted to maintain control of the Starbucks brand. He wanted to have strong control of the practices and the strong centralization. So consequently, as he built out the United States, this was a greenfield development. In 1992, he obtained funds in an IPO and continued disciplined growth in the United States. Now, when he went to the United Kingdom, there was a target there which allowed him to continue his quest to caffeinate the world. And that company was called Seattle Coffee. He purchased the company in 1998. He did a full rebranding and a redesign of the outlets. He therefore was able to obtain very quick market entry through acquisitions in the United Kingdom. It was a very highly attractive market. It was a good target at a reasonable price, and there were very close similarities between the United States and the United Kingdom. That's an example of using business development through acquisition. Now we're talking about Japan. The story's a little different. This was the first international foray for Starbucks, and he needed a local partner. In 1995, he entered a joint venture with Suzabe. Now, there was equal representation in this venture on the board, but Starbucks was careful to maintain control of the brand, advertising, and essential communication. Now, we talk about China. We talk about a different entry as far as business development. Initially, Starbucks launched its store in the Forbidden City in China, which was, by many, considered a cultural affront to put this coffee commercial Western U.S. venture inside the Forbidden City. But Starbucks learned from that, and Starbucks and Howard Schultz realized it was important to build relationships with the community, and particularly local farmers. So Starbucks started to grow their coffee beans locally inside the country of China. It also stressed the importance of relationships with employees, to be an employer of choice in China. Now, over time, although Starbucks started out with minority investments and joint ventures, it bought out some of these properties that it had previously been a minority owner in, and now started to own some of these properties as time went forward. Now, if you're going to be successful in your business development, we've seen Starbucks a wide range of activity as it quote-unquote caffeinated the world, from acquisition to partnerships and joint ventures to minority investments, and there's a whole a bevy of activity that Starbucks undertook to be successful in its expansion. And as you think about your expansion entrepreneurially, it's important to identify partners or relationships that give you some type of synergy. It might be they have better distribution than you. It might be there's some know-how that you want to pool with your capabilities to be able to move your venture forward. You probably want to cooperate with someone with a similar culture. If you're able to talk the same language, quote unquote, in general, same thought process, that you just feel comfortable with this partner, it seems to be a lot more acceptable and profitable as far as moving forward. Now, clarity of purpose is important. When KFC went into a region, in particular with Mitsubishi, and it was launching in Japan, it needed real estate prowess and capability. Now, KFC, of course, knew a lot about fried chicken, but they needed a real estate partner, and there was a very clear clarity of purpose of roles and responsibilities with respect to this venture. Similarly, try up front to make it as clear as possible what each partner is bringing to the table. Compatible timeframes are important, how quickly you want to move with your partner, and also support from the top. That means you as an entrepreneur as well as the leadership in the partner that you're considering. Now, that's an overview of corporate business development, and we've seen it involves partnerships, relationships with companies outside of your direct control. I'm going to give you a couple further examples as we go forward. In the next example, in the next case, we're going to talk about Apple. It's iTunes, iPod development strategy, and we'll see that not only was Apple great in design of its products, Apple was also very careful as to how it was proceeding with respect to its corporate business development activity.